fly, like a butterfly.
Denshattack has to be one of the stupidest, strangest, most pointless games I've ever played. And that's why it's quickly become one of the best I've played in a long time. Honestly, before I utter another word, if this game looks interesting to you in the slightest, head to your nearest gaming device and try the game for yourself. I believe this is a game you have to experience blind. Not necessarily because of the story, no, because a 150-ton train pulling kickflips is the chillest thing you'll see here. But if you don't care, then enjoy my ramblings because I've gotta gush about this game. Denshattack takes the arcadey formula of Tony Hawk Pro Skater, the style of Jet Set Radio, the speed of Sonic, and love for all things Japan, and cranks up the ridiculous factor. Considering I love the aesthetic of Jet Set Radio so much, I picked up its Xbox iteration, and Tony Hawk Pro Skater was one of the first games I ever played. It makes sense why I was so drawn to it whenever I first saw the trailer. When the demo dropped months before the game came out, it gave me a good idea of how fun and ridiculous the main game was going to be. That being said, I was left with some concerns. I really wasn't a fan of drifting being tied to left trigger, and pulling off tricks was harder than it needed to be. Thankfully, the developers of the game, undercoders, listened to feedback and they fixed those issues. Button remapping is a godsend. Traveling through Japan while jumping around on a train is so much fun. At the start of the game, it breaks everything down. Jumping, drifting, air tricks, you know, normal train stuff. You get caught up in trying to nail all the transitions, the track changes and everything. Especially when you're first starting out, you want to find the sweet spot to everything. As the game moves on, it adds on what is required of you. I wish you could see my face whenever I found out you can grind on guardrails. We'll talk more about this stuff later, but just know, there's a lot you're doing by the end of the game. I found myself crashing a lot because of all this stuff, and at times, I was getting a little frustrated. Normally, I'd be quick to point out the game's inability to create a smooth experience and how there's too much jank to deal with. But I'm gonna keep it real with you, I stink at this game. When you add on the crazy tricks you can do, the game gets difficult, but I wanted to keep getting better. With each passing level, I wanted to pull off harder tricks but also nail the transitions on top of beating all of the dares, the objectives in each level. And the game's addicting enough, despite messing up over and 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 over again, I kept going. I didn't get mad at the game. It's not their fault my hands won't work like they used to before. And as an added bonus, the game allows you to use another move before bailing so you don't crash. And considering my happy hands, it saves me on multiple occasions. I already mentioned how this game is very Tony Hawk coded, that sort of arcade styled game. This is very much a personal thing, but this game reminds me of the Flash games I played as a kid. I would find myself glued to the computer screen playing these games because they were that rewarding and addicting despite having a simple premise. And that is the same feeling I get with this game. And while not all games need to roll that way, I've really been missing that from a lot of games in recent times. As you move on from the beginning levels, the game adds on what's required of you. You can ride on walls, swing on monorails, skate on ice. You can straight up use a gust of wind to propel yourself forward. The list goes on. Oh, don't worry, you can still do insane tricks on top of everything. And if you get a high enough combo, you can enter what is basically flow state, take to the sky, and run on rails of pure energy. The game describes it as perceiving magnetic currents after getting in the zone. What was even the name of it? I wonder. Okay, but seriously, using Yayaro Sudo is important at certain points since not every level is going from point A to point B in the most bombastic way possible. Sometimes you have to complete objectives, other times you have to race other trains. Entering Yayaro Sudo, or what I like to call flow state, is normally important for the latter. As well as the boss fights. Man, the boss fights. How's about this? After I get some other stuff off my mind, I talk a little bit more about stuff that's on the spoilery side. Don't worry, I'll make it real obvious when the time comes. Getting back into the level structure, I love that the game differentiates the gameplay so it doesn't become monotonous. Denshattack reminds me of a pretty forgotten Nintendo game from the beginning of the Switch era, Sushi Striker. Both games have a fun premise, great characters, addicting gameplay loop, but the problem with Sushi Striker, at least with me, was that the game got too repetitive after a while and overstayed its welcome. Denshattack does enough differently and builds on its premise enough that I never got bored. I mean, how can you? Do you not see me flying like a bird? A couple of these different levels, more notably the races at some point, got a bit on the annoying side, but once again, I'll chalk that up to my lack of skill. I'm still somehow, after hours of playing this game, crashing in the stupidest way possible. Let me praise the cast real quick. First off, Emmy, she is sick for like no reason. As soon as the girl found out what Denshattack was, she wasted no time. She dropped her job to take to the tracks, and she immediately loved it. After learning about Yoyaro Sudo, she starts yelling Denshattack out of pure excitement. And she basically doesn't fear anything. Despite defying the laws of physics, she continually puts herself in danger. She takes a spill at the first part of the game and just brushes it off. If I ever see a train drifting at Mach speed in real life, I'll just assume it's Emmy. She's just built like that. She's kind of like Ash in a way. She wants to be the best and doesn't want anyone to get in her way. She wants to be there for the people closest to her and for others to not be oppressed by the government. Oh yeah, I probably should have mentioned that earlier. This whole game is set in a dystopian future after a climate disaster. Fun stuff. The rest of the cast is a lot of fun too.
Yoshie! Emmy! Yoshie! Emmy! This is so fun! Thank you, Uncle!
Uncle? That's your uncle.
The group that travels with Emmy gets some fun moments, but there's other people that you run into that are also fantastic. Shout out to my boy Bobby over here. He knows a legend when he sees one.
I love you! What was that? Nothing!
All the interactions you see in this game add more depth to the relationships of everyone and build on this interesting story. I won't go over the entire plot here, but I'll say for an arcade-styled game, the story was very well executed and one that should be probably taken to heart. Well, the gameplay is amazing, the characters are amazing. Alright game, what else you got? I am legitimately losing my mind. How were they able to create such an infectious soundtrack? How were they able to get such an insane lineup of composers? How am I hearing Lotus Juice as I'm beating up a robot with a train? Even Mr. Daytona himself is doing a track! I love this game. While a game's soundtrack isn't going to determine whether I like a game or not, it's always a factor when I decide if it's one of my favorites. The music in Denshattack just confirmed what I already knew, but in this case, it just makes it so much better. I'll admit it's not my favorite OST of all time, but it's up there. If you don't think the game's your speed, at the very least, do me a favor and listen to the soundtrack. The amount of time and talent cannot go understated here. While I won't go over every single aspect of the game as much as I want to, there are a few moments that stand out. A couple of these you can consider a spoiler, so if you don't want to know about it, I'd say look away, plug your ears for just a little bit, and we'll catch up at the end. My favorite aspect of this game is that it just be doing stuff all the time, man. It doesn't care about reality or context, it's just be doing whatever it feels like. And yeah, duh, that's kind of obvious at this point, but I'm just saying, I'm seeing this train fly in the air like it's an Avenger, beat up a kaiju that sounds way too close to the browser. The game straight up turns into a rhythm game. Like, hello? This was easily my favorite boss fight in the entire game. It was overwhelming at first, but my fingers knew exactly what to do and it all made sense. And the ending. Oh, first I'll say, I had a thought, or really a hope, that Multi, that dumb little mascot, would be a secret final boss. He did show up at the start of chapter 8, which threw me off, but turns out I was right. Speaking of which, there was another thing that was on my mind throughout my playthrough. The game has you doing just about everything, right? So I thought, this game's doing so much, where else to go but up, right? We might as well at this point take the sucker to space to end it off. And I just want you to listen to this part right here.
Our plane is forever safe on Miraido's moon base!
I knew it! I knew it! Dude, game of the year! Game of the year! You cannot make this up. And this leaves me to wonder, how on earth are we even gonna get to the moon? The same way Mario does.
What now? There's no way forward!
Easy, Fur. I know
Oh my gosh! There's no way! Oh shoot! No. Of course, what other way to the moon than Rainbow Road itself? Alright, run it back. Only this game, man. Only this game. What else do you want me to say? I love this game. I love how crazy it is. I love how fluid it is. I love how memorable it is. I love how replayable it is. This has to be one of the best games I've ever played. And considering this came at a point in time where new releases weren't interesting to me and I was salivating at the thought of a new game I'd actually enjoy, I see this game as a bit of a miracle. I truly hope this isn't the last I see of Emmy and the crew, because if there's any continuation of this property in the form of DLC or sequel, you know I'm there. But for now, I gotta move on to the next adventure. Oh, who am I kidding? I'm hitting the tracks again. Later.
Let's talk more Denshattack.